Hey guys, welcome to the Florida preview or fans guide, however you want to look at it. I am joined by the soothsayer of the Sunshine State, Kabra, Brant Parsons. How's it going, Brant?
A broken clock is right twice a day, I think it is. So every now and again, I am a soothsayer. Other times, not so much.
Oh, I think you do pretty well. And the reason you do pretty well is you're dialed in. You know kind of what's going on in the Sunshine State. You know the kids and yeah, how did you just real quick before we get into what this will look like today? How'd you do last week with your kind of your region previews and things like that?
I'll be honest, I have not
You haven't had
calculated them
time.
yet. The regions ended Saturday night. I put together posts who've made the state tournament. By Sunday, the state brackets are coming out. I'm already building up rankings because by Sunday afternoon, we're already my daughter London's helping me. We're already marking up the brackets, making notes for the preview because I want the preview out by Tuesday is the ideal situation because people start to travel on Wednesday. So I'll look back at them at another time. I will say going through rankings, some of the rankings were easier to go through because they went down the line. I was like, oh, I got those right. I got those right. And then some of them are like, ooh,
Ooh.
what was I thinking? Where that kid's not even, I don't even have him listed here. Where do I go find him? So I use in the past, I think my rate is like 75% or 80% or something like that. So
Right. No,
probably around there.
I'm with you. So for everybody who's tuning in, this is not going to be Brant and I marching through the brackets, trying to understand. I mean, because that's what your preview is for. I write a fans guide. It's a little bit different than your preview. It has a lot of similarities and stuff. It is your take on things. It's my take on things. You're saying you're going to drop yours on Tuesday. That's what I'm hoping to drop the fans guide as well. So we're going to stick with 5 big questions in each of the classes. You good with that?
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. So, the big question I think to start things is the team race. And I guess in a general overall sense, are the team races decided at this point in
I
time?
was gonna say South Day, Tampa Jesuit, Somerset next. The girls' team race is an interesting one. We can talk about that, but I would say the top of the team races. I don't know if there is a close one this year. Just how it plays out. How I have not done my picks. When I do my picks, I actually go through and total up the points that I project each person to win in those picks, and then I come out with with a final team standings. But based on everything I've seen this year, I don't think we're going to see a team race. We're not gonna have guys with napkins watching the consolation placing rounds, keeping track of 2 teams and who needs these points and bonus points. I think they're pretty much set.
Yeah.
At least on the boys' side heading into the weekend. The girls could be interesting.
All right. So I want to throw out one thing in 1A, and that is one of the things. I mean, Somerset brings 13, and it's hard to beat 13. We all know that. But First Baptist does bring 6 champs, and 6 champs from a region can get you a ton of points. They've got to make up way too many points probably to get to Somerset. But I'll tell you what, 6 champs has got to put you in a good position, at least to be in the top 3.
I think they'll end up in the mix because they seem to be peaking also. Matter Lakes, they had 2 possible champs, not make it. That affected that fun team race, and Zephyr Hills Christian has the numbers, but I don't think they have the horses because Somerset's got, I would say just off the top of my head, 2 champions already, like almost written in pen, really dark pencil. And they've got 13 and they've got 13 wrestlers there, and all of those kids that they have are going to score points. So again, when I look at it, it'll be interesting after I do my picks and I see how close someone can get. I had someone ask me last night if there's anyone close. I don't think there is. It could change. You might see my preview Tuesday, like, hey, he said no one had a chance. What? But I reserve the right to be wrong right now. But just looking at Somerset's roster, knowing what they have, knowing how many they have, and also knowing that not only are Solis and Hodge going to win, most likely they're going to win with a lot of bonus points too because they're just so dominant. And then you're going to have these other guys that are going to find their way to the podium and stuff. So it's a tall ask. I mean, if First Baptist can get 6 champs, they won't. But if they can get a lot of champions, that certainly can bring them into it. I think they're probably a top 3 finish, but we'll see what happens on that one. But I mean, if anything is close, it would be that one out of the classes, and I don't even know if that's the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah. Well, okay. And just real quick to touch on the girls, you've got Hernando with 9, Matanzas, Freedom, and South Dade with 6, but man, three girls making up a different. I mean, that's a huge ask as well. Hernando looks like they're locked in.
I will tell you a team to watch: Flagler.
Okay.
Palm Coast. You've got 3 potential finalists. You have at least 1 champion already that I'm picking. You've got 2 girls ranked in the ranked number 2 in my rankings, which that's what I base it off of. And then you also have a girl that could place on the podium. So you could have 4 placers there. They score really well in my formula. I don't know if they have the numbers, but heading into this week when I did my formula, I based my rankings on, they were very close to Hernando. Matanzas has some numbers. They don't seem to have maybe as many big numbers this year. Freedom has some numbers. They don't seem to, they don't have the slam dunk winners either. I think it comes down to Hernando and Flagler. Hernando does have, Grace Liotta is going to probably win hers. They have some other girls that could place pretty high. Their depth might be the difference, but watch. It's kind of interesting to do the girls and the boys. Like the girls is growing, but it doesn't take as many girls to win tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people.
I mean, yeah.
I've had people complain to me through the year, and they're like, "Well, my girls won this tournament, and they've got like 14 girls, but this is a different tournament. This is the state tournament. Now there's 14 girls. They may only have 1 or 2 there. If you can have 3 girls that are really good in the girls' state tournament for now, you can place high and make some noise because the depth isn't quite there yet. With teams having a lot of points, like obviously you can't win any of the boys' classifications with just 3 wrestlers anymore. But the girls, it'll be interesting to see if those Flagler girls keep wrestling as well as they are, if they put some pressure on there. They may not have the depth, but that's the team I'm saying to watch out for. Hernando's my pick, but I think that could be interesting.
Yeah. Well, and like Brant said, he reserves the right to be wrong at this moment in time. He's dropping his preview tomorrow. So,
Right.
one of the things, all right, so let's jump to question number 2.
Yes.
And this is you and I sitting in the stands. We're hanging out and we're saying, you know what? This is the weight class that's going to be the funnest to watch. This is the weight class that just could go lots of different directions. Let's start with the girls. What weight class is really fun for you?
I wrote down 2. I'm intrigued. I believe I know who's going to win each one, but I'm still intrigued by the weight classes. 120. Obviously, Borelli is the favorite. She's nationally ranked. But looking at that, they have. I've got Betances up top. I have Abby DeCenzo up top.
Mm-hmm.
You have Bridenstine and Severe. One of them will end up on the top half of the bracket. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, you're looking at Abby DeCenzo. If I get any names wrong, I apologize. Going against Betances, who's a Georgia state champ. She's kind of coming into her own. She finished second at the knockout, but she has been wrestling really well. She's a region champ, comes in. They're in a semifinal at the top of 120. And then there's some girls that are right below them, including, Bridenstine, who's beaten Betances. The other weight class I'm intrigued by is 145. I think Stewart from Bartram Trail is the favorite. Obviously, she's 5-0, I think, at this point against Bibla. They wrestled in the finals last year. But the interesting match there, too, is you have Bibla and Jasp from Matter Academy Wrestling. And though it ended up being an injury default, and I don't know all the different details on that, Jasp was winning when they were wrestling. So that's, I think, in the quarterfinal round, if I'm remembering correctly. Did I write that down? Might be semifinal.
No,
but
that's a quarterfinal
That's a
match.
semifinal. Okay.
That's a quarterfinal match.
So that is huge, just to see, what happens there with them wrestling at the state tournament. Obviously, we saw what Bibla can do last year, pulling off the state champion win and beating Stewart. Could that happen again? That's one of the ones I'm looking forward to see. What about you?
Yeah, so I love the matchups. 120 is definitely one that's interesting because I follow the Southeast. I know Betances from wrestling in Georgia, but for me, the thing that brought it out for me was at the knockout and watching the 110s with Mills and Bush and Diaz and I mean Reagan Thomas. I mean, I could go down the list. There's so many girls at 110. I think Mills is probably the favorite, but it's a lot of fun to look at 110 and watch them compete because they wrestle super hard and they're a lot of fun to watch.
And if I don't have it in front of me, if I remember correctly, she's on top and there's a whole lot of them on the bottom. So
Yeah.
that plays out for us fans. That's fun to play out because you're gonna get to see the second, I don't say second best because they could beat Mills, but like that second choice finalist is going to come from the bottom and not have to wrestle Mills in a semi. If I remember correctly, that's how that bracket plays out. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Now, Jaslyn Diaz shares the top side with her, but the bottom side, I think you're right, is Bush, Reagan Thomas, Metzger, Rizzuto, Ferran. Like, again, you go down the list. So from the beginning to the end, it's going to be a lot of fun
That's
to
right.
watch.
Yeah. I wrote it down. 5 in the top 8 are in the bottom.
Yeah.
So that should be fun to watch.
All right. So let's jump to 1A.
1A. I two again two. I've done disclaimers. 144, and these I don't know if I have a winner for either of these. Like I did with the girls. You have Kersey, you have Maple, Florio, Eric Hodge. Florio obviously a state champion a few years ago, undefeated, wrestling well. He's been back the last couple of weeks, wrestling really well. And then at 190, you have the defending state champ coming back, David Mercado. He's undefeated, but on that other side, also he has Jeremiah Chavez, possibly in the semis.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, you have Peter Mako, who is wrestling extremely well, won a region. He's an 8th grader at Coral Springs Charter, undefeated. And then you have Octavian Osby, who is undefeated. He placed last year 4th in the state. He went to Vieira Beach to play football, made his way back to Palm Bay, started wrestling a couple weeks ago there. And he's on the bottom. So 3 undefeated guys. One's a state champ. One's the son of, one of the best ever, and the younger brother of a state champ. And then you have a guy that placed last year. I am so intrigued by 190 and how that'll go.
Yeah, yeah. And only one I would add to that, I had 144 down as well, and that was 157. I think Gamba, Garrett, DiGrigoli, Nazario, who I think was second a year ago. It's a lot of fun to watch. Definitely it'll be some really interesting matches coming along the way. How about in 2A?
In 2A, I should also preface this. I think 1A, 2A, and 3A, I could put 285 for any of these.
Okay.
To me, the 285 this year has been the hardest thing to figure out. My 2A rankings, if you look at them, they did like a complete flip from what they were before because everything that happened in districts happened the opposite in regions. But the ones I'm really, the one I'm looking forward to is 150, and you have Draven McCall, state champion there. Caden Schaefer, senior, Fleming Island, undefeated on the year, very good wrestler, a guy that can compete with them. And then you have TJ Gernhardt with Brandon, undefeated on the year. The 3 of them are there. Just a side note, Schaefer looks like he got, the better draw. He's on the other end. But those 3 guys battling out. I know who I'm going to pick. You can see it on Tuesday. And then I have 215 I'm interested in because I feel it's somewhat open because we just haven't seen a lot of them compete. Tucker Cody is my favorite. You have Harper Noel. You have Ivy from Merritt Island. I don't know how to say his name. Pike from Charlotte. Even McDowell from Manatee. Just so many strong big guys, but they can also wrestle. And I don't know if there's a huge amount of difference. I've been told by people up north that Tucker's winning this thing. But I'm curious to see how that goes. Ivy started out the year well. He had a win over Noel. Noel has beat him 2 straight weeks. He looks as good as anyone, a kid from Heritage. So those are the 2 for 2A for me.
Cool. Well, I'm going to add one more, and that is 138, which became really interesting when Fretwell came up to the weight and wasn't there. He lost to Phillips last week, 3-2 in the semis. Now puts him in the quarter with Bowles. Again, if you are sitting with us and we're watching some 2A action, 138, I had 150 as my number 1 as well. 215. Those are going to be some great weight classes to watch. All right, let's jump to 3A and see who you got there.
This is probably more of an official 285, but I put 106 only because I've had trouble with 106s this year too. It's normal for that. I guess some years in 106, not an extreme standout. Morales has kind of separated himself from the pack in the South. Lytle has wrestled great for Harmony. Perez out of Palmetto Ridge has had some big wins. And then anything can happen in 285s, I think sometimes anything can happen in the 106s. These are younger guys, Some of them have been there. Some of them haven't been as much. These guys can wrestle at Fargo. They can wrestle at all these national tournaments. There's something about going to Silver Spurs for that state tournament. Anything can happen, it seems, but I'm curious as to how 106 will be and if I'm anywhere close to having anything right on that one.
So I agree with you. So 106 was one of the ones that I had, in that it could just be straight chaos. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Morales comes in, but man, I don't know. Like, and 106 might be that way in all of the classifications, but certainly in 3A,
it certainly
seems pretty
seems to be.
close. Yeah.
The kid from Miami Christians kind of distinguished himself in 4A 106 or 1A 106. But yeah, the 3A 106 is going to be. Yeah, I just added a classification.
I think. Well, no, I think Brand actually might have gone back in time to what, 2006 or so,
4A,
when it was
4A,
4A,
5A,
5A, 6A. Yeah. All right, so let's jump to question number 3, and this is a kid that is a bracket buster. On my fans guide, I put bracket busters down as either 3rd or 4th, but we put the limitation that it had to be a kid, I think, that took 4th in their region.
Yes.
That we're not saying is going to win. We're not saying is going to win the bracket. Okay, what we're saying with a bracket buster is a kid who maybe didn't have the best region week, but is coming in and ready to go in, and could surprise some people if they're not ready. Let's start in 2A.
In 2A. All right. And just to add to this, I can think of 2 off the top of my head. Kenia Moore, who's the state champion, the girls 235 last year, came in 4th place in the region. Dr. Phillips heavyweight a few years ago came in as a 4, and going a little bit further back, Stone from Venice came in as a 4 seed and won the state title.
It doesn't happen often, though.
Doesn't happen often. And honestly, I was looking at this year, and I don't know if there's any that stand out to me as being like state champion kids that messed up in region. Kids wrestled really well in region, except for 285 was crazy in 2A. But I have 2 kids to watch that are 4 seeds. Xavier Albo, Tampa Jesuit, 132. I think you've mentioned him already, or you mentioned the 138, but this is a tough kid. He's wrestled tough guys all year. He comes in, he looks like a favorite in the first round. I could see him reaching the semifinals or further. And then Kyle Yassis from Deltona. I know this kid is tough. He maybe a little bit on a consistency thing, but you mentioned Fretwell. He only beat him 4-3. Now, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened in it. I know it's the 3rd place match. It's a region tournament. You're tired. You're not expecting to be in there. But he wrestled Christian Fretwell tough. It was 4-3 in the final. He comes in at a 4 seed. I think he's got some winnable spots there. So those are the 2 and 2A I'm watching.
Awesome. I had Albo as well. Let's jump to 3A.
We should have sent each other our notes.
Well, no, actually, I think this is like some level of validity, actually, that we're kind of in a similar way of looking at the kid. So, all right,
I'll let you go first this time, because I keep going first and stealing.
Oh no, I don't mind, but I picked Angel Delgado out of Southwest Miami, 120 pounds. Look, in 3A, the 4s out of Region 4 are all super tough. They always pose a problem throughout. Delgado was sat in that bracket with Acevedo, with Mitchum. He's a tough kid. I just think that if you're gonna be leery of someone, I think he's the person you got to be leery of.
3A for 120. I think I had 7 ranked kids out of the top 9 in that region. I mean, it was just brutal. And I talked to a coach from the region this morning, and we talked about Delgado because it was the Vieira kid won a region, and what is his victory? You get Delgado in the first round. That's certainly one to watch. Vieira kid's very good, but that's interesting. I'm also taking a kid that finished 4th in Region 4, and I actually wrote a note. There's more than a few in Region 4 that you have to watch when they're the 4 seed. But I took Rocco Douglas to 106. This is a tough kid. This is a kid that's worked hard. He's a leader on the team. What I found out today, he's the kicker for the football team. So he was playing football on Friday nights and then going out and wrestling on Saturday. Again, well, if 120 is the hardest, was the hardest bracket in 3A4. I think 106 may have been the second hardest. He placed 4th there. He comes in. He has a tough draw with Lytle to lead things off. So I don't know that he is a complete bracket buster, but he's gonna, if he doesn't get past that one, he's gonna tear up some things on the backside and shake it up on that.
All right. So going to the girls, I actually picked 2. One of the reasons I mean, Anaya Herbin at 235, like you said just a few minutes ago, Kanea Moore was in that spot from that region and made a run all the
From
way
that
to the
district.
title from that district too.
Yes.
So I think she's definitely one. And I watched Willow White wrestle at Knockout, and came away really impressed. I know she took fourth in her region. She might be somebody that you might want to keep an eye on as well. How about you?
Absolutely. I actually had Herbin down, and I agree on White. The thing with Herbin, she's from that district. All four of that district are the four that made it through the regions. And you're talking about Kenia Moore. You're talking about the girl from Countryside. You're talking about Vernine from Admiral Frigate. They're all there.
Whiting.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it wrong. And so I have her there because Kanea did it last year. She's a tough rider. Now, we have not seen a lot of her this year. She wrestles mostly guys over there in Jefferson, and they wrestle those 10 ways every weekend, and I don't get results from any of those. So I have not seen her or know a lot about her, but she continues to wrestle well. She wrestled well last year. I think she was either a state place or a state qualifier. I don't have it right in front of me. But she comes in as a 4 seed that I think she was.
I think
and
she was
230 heavyweights. It's everything.
Yeah, I think she was actually maybe third last year.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that incorrectly, but I do believe she was a returning state placer.
Yeah, I can see it really quick, and yeah, she was third last year.
Yeah,
so that's kind of crazy. All right, why don't we jump to
48 and 15 wrestling mostly guys this year.
So wow. All right, so why don't we jump to 1A for you? One to watch.
1A, I put Adrian Tejano from Somerset. I have him ranked 5th. Just a brutal region. Again, we talk about regions that were tough. That weight class that he was in, just finishing 4th was better than some of the finalists that you're going to see. I think he could reach the semifinals. He does have a tough one. He has Sal Martinez in the opening round, but again, this is Somerset. It's one of those things that I always talk about how South Dade always has guys that outperform what you expect. When you come in with 13 guys and you're chasing a team title, that can uplift you too. So I picked him to watch.
And I agree with you. Actually, he's the one I had as well.
It's
All
the
right.
agreeing show on.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think what you're looking at in terms of those situations is tough region, right?
Mm-hmm.
That plays a huge role. Matchups, and again, I don't know that I pick in all the ones that I think it could go either way, but I see them really as being, if they don't win their opening match, they're the types of kids who can march back through and take third in their bracket. So, all right. So our 4th question is our best possible finals match. Now I know we're doing a lot of projections here.
A lot of projection. We also, always try to. I always use the word possibly, potentially, could. We should, disclose this. This is all what we think could happen. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. It doesn't mean that we hate you if we aren't telling you you're in the finals. But this is just all those disclaimers. But yes, we are projecting here.
We are. So if we're gonna start, let's start in 1A.
All right. Jake Austin, Cullen Messina. They keep wrestling and they keep being good and they keep switching. Obviously Jake, defending state champion. Messina beat him in the districts. They know each other well. They see each other a lot down there, and because they're in the same district and region, they're on the other side of the bracket. I could see them getting back there, and that'd be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know who's going to be in the finals at 106. I'm not sure who that's going to be, but I like all of the region champs, and I just think that that's going to be a situation. And you've got Brock Dalen, who you've been super high on for. I hope I said his name right.
Yeah,
super high on, who lost to Everett Stevens. So, I don't know how it's all going to play out, but I'm going to be watching the 106-pound final.
Absolutely.
All right.
I like that. And I haven't seen this kid from Miami Christian wrestle be 16-0. Had people tell me that he is just a beast.
Oh, so I've seen Giovanni Tovar wrestle.
Yeah.
I've seen him wrestle.
I would say you probably have seen him somewhere along the way.
So I've seen him wrestle maybe 14 U's in freestyle. He is a beast.
Yeah.
Now I haven't seen him wrestle folk style, but definitely somebody to watch. All right, let's flip to the girls.
Well, I have 2 finals to see. One of them's 105. You're going to have 2 nationally ranked wrestlers there, possibly. Obviously, everybody knows Gabby Tedesco, Lake Gibson, senior year. state champion last year, nationally ranked, national champion. But you also have Abigail Gonzalez, who is an
Yep.
8th grader at Matter Lakes, nationally ranked, number 8. They're both ranked number 8. She's at 100, and Gabby's at 105. I was told they didn't know she'd wrestle this year. You know, she's homeschooled, but she found a place, and I, as much as everyone would look at this and think, oh, Gabby's obviously winning. I mean, we saw her wrestle guys and have big wins at state duels. I think this could be an interesting final because you have two very well respected wrestlers, obviously, in the country, and possibly meeting up in a final with a senior against an 8th grader.
Yeah. So again, not to be the agreement show, but
But I have another one. So tell
okay,
yours
good.
then.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, but for those of you who don't know, Abigail Gonzalez is super, super tough. I've seen her wrestle and freestyle and everything else. And I will say, I just, it's one of those things, like the storyline that goes with it of the senior, the 8th grader. Does the torch get passed? Does the 8th grader take it from her and say, this is mine? That, if you're watching the girls, that's going to be a really good one to watch. What's your other one?
My other one, I had it at 35, Briggs and Barrientos. They met once this year. It was a sudden victory. It's Barrientos' only loss. I'd like to, if they make it back, that's one I'm definitely positioning myself to have a good look at 135.
Yeah, no, definitely. Briggs beat her sudden victory. Is that right?
Beat her in sudden victory. I don't remember the tournament. I have it in my notes.
Yeah. All right, let's jump to 3A. And
all right,
we might pick the same 3A, but I'm going to try
I
to
have
find
two,
another one.
but I'm guessing. Let me see if I can guess which one you put.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess you picked 75.
I did.
Okay. So you can talk your thing about 75, and then I'll tell you my other pick.
Well, so obviously 75 is Gunnar Holland, Kevin Oliveria. Kevin Oliveria is a Pennsylvania State placer from Mannheim up in Pennsylvania, has come down. And you know what? I watched him beat Gunnar at state duels. You watched him. We were sitting there together. Watched him beat him at state duels. I think Gunnar has the last win, though.
He does. He got Singletary. Him back at the Singletary.
Yeah. So, but if you're watching a final with two super talented kids, that to me is the match.
I mean, just the backstory with this also with Gunnar and being at Osceola and a 2-time champ and getting upset last year, wanting to go out this year by a South Day kid. Who ended up going and winning. I always say it's always a South Day kid that wins a state title that you don't predict. But just wrestling in his backyard senior year, certainly probably feels a little bit extra pressure on himself. But I think for him, it was good that they went to the Singletary and he was able to wipe that loss out. But that's one of the ones I have picked. And then I have the one right before that, Balmaceda and White, and they've wrestled a few times this year, and I think it's 2-2 now. I picked Balmaceda to win regions, even though he was 1-2 against White at the time. He pulled it off. It was it might have been sudden victory. It was something very tight. Balmaceda senior. We know what his brother's done. We know what his dad has done as a coach. He's one of those seniors, looking for that elusive state title, which we're gonna talk about. But these two wrestle well. They're totally different body types. White is long and so tough to get in on, but that's going to be fun to watch. I've not seen them wrestle each other, but I really enjoyed watching White wrestle at Jensen Beach earlier, and that should be a good final.
Well, and I think I've watched White wrestle Kendrick Hodge at Knockout and really took it to Kendrick and like almost beat him. So yeah, definitely one to watch. All right. 2A. So I have 2 as well. Can you pick one of my 2?
I'm gonna say one of yours is 65, and you probably put 38 on the other.
I put 65, but the other one was not 38.
Okay, that's good. So we have 2 different ones, but 65 we agree on.
So yeah, go ahead.
I mean, they've wrestled twice now, and it's 1-1. Brandon Cody, Wiggins from Braden River. And both of them have been close, because they're in the regions, they get to be on the other side of the bracket. Why not have, the rubber match on the 3rd straight weekend between those two? And it's going to be close, and it's going to be fun to watch. So that's why I picked 65.
What was the other one you picked?
I have 38 because
Okay.
uh, I and again it's a top our fifth question
Yeah.
is a senior and so watching Ryan Phillips for Winter Springs, now he has a win over Fretwell. They've wrestled twice this year. They've wrestled close both times. If Fretwell manages to get through a little tougher side of the bracket and we get a rematch between those two, I think that would be fun.
Yeah. So my other one was 150 with
Okay.
McCall and Caden Schaefer, who I
Yes.
think will be the final at 150. And
I
again,
probably
just
would have had that if I hadn't already talked about it on the top. So that's a good pick.
yeah, yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right. All right. So for our final question, um, a senior that finally gets over the hump and wins a state title. Some backstory here. I did a little bit of calculations before our conversation. There are 305 seniors walking into Silver Spurs Arena. Okay.
Wow.
Almost 50% of the field across all four classes are seniors. There have been 11 of them that have won a state title previously.
Wow.
Okay. That doesn't mean that there aren't juniors in the group or whatever that have won state titles, Max Brady, blah, 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 Christian Fretwell, blah, 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 blah. But there have been several that have been super close. And this is their final opportunity to get it done. And I mean, those are the stories that actually kind of
Hmm.
pull at you because we've made mention of Balmaceda and Cody and different ones. Why don't we go through? I don't want to. Why don't we just kind of have a conversation back and forth? Who are a couple that you're thinking of as it relates to this?
Well, honestly, the moment you sent me this email, it was his name that popped up, and I was having like Tal Shahar kind of vibes with it, and it's obvious. I mean, I know you have him too. It's Christian Vasquez,
Yeah,
Doral Academy, 3 finals. Yeah, you don't get closer than that, uh, and not get it. And he's a senior year. He comes in. He's my favorite or my number one, possibly your favorite on your bracket. But a chance to finally get over that hump because he's been so close for so long.
yeah, yeah, and I don't cheer for anyone. That's not the way I work and that sort of thing. But watching him take that loss to Washburn in the finals
Yep.
last year in overtime was a tough thing to watch.
Hmm.
I had a lot of feelings that I was like, man, that's and I don't I hope he wrestles to his ability. I think if he wrestles to his ability, he wins his first state title. I kind of feel the same way about Gavin Balmaceda.
Hmm.
You got Brandon Cody, who's got Gage Wiggins. We've talked about some of those. Who's another one that's on your list?
I mean, we've talked about her, Catherine Stewart.
Mhm.
She was uh, seventh as a sophomore, finalist last year. She's very good, obviously. Um, Probably, I think, if I remember correctly, I had her as the favorite last year to win a state title. She comes in this year as a favorite. So she's one of the ones that stood out to me. I ironically or not ironically or whatever, I was looking at the girls. I only have 4 seniors winning in the girls' side. 3 of them are returning state champions, and the rest are juniors and a sophomore, I think. So we got a lot of girls. If I'm right, which I am 80% of the time, we have got a lot of girls potentially coming back next year with state titles and multiple state titles. But out of the seniors, she's the one senior that I've picked to win it that has not won one before.
Yeah. All right. So what about in 1A? Do you have one in 1A?
I put Enzo Gamba, Fernandina Beach, sorry, third as a junior, seventh as a sophomore. Uh, Saw him at Jensen Beach this year, and he just looks completely different, completely locked in. I know being in a room with Nolan McKelvey has probably helped him also, but just he's come here before with I don't want to say inflated records, but very good records, and maybe not been ready for what the tournament is. This year, he's going to be ready for it because he's gone out and he's faced some guys, and and I think that was the one senior in 1A that stood out to me.
Yeah. So Gamba stood out to me. The other one that stood out to me was Derek Williams,
Yeah.
who made the state finals last year. Did he lose to Solis in the?
Yes.
Yeah. So he- that's tough. He's been there, that sort of thing. So he's gonna have probably a tough, it's gonna be a tough weight class again to get to that point, but this is their final opportunity to do so. Any other last ones? I know we mentioned several in 3A and 2A. So
I mean, a lot of the ones I have like a whole list in 2A. I had Phillips, which we talked
yeah.
about. Brandon Cody, we've talked about.
Yep.
Schaefer, we've talked about. Cameron French.
Oh yeah.
Moved over from Charlotte. He's at Mariner. He's wrestling for his uncle. 50-1, I think is his record off the top of my head. He's a kid. You got Mills at 190. Brother sisters ranked 1 and 2. You know, Jordan has a chance to win a state title, and that was another senior that kind of stuck to me. So lots in 2A possible seniors winning their first title.
Yeah,
and he was hurt last year, which kind of adds to it. Also, Jordan, he'd hurt his shoulder and wasn't able to compete, but he's back this year.
Was he second 2 years ago?
I believe
third.
I can. Yeah,
it's
talk,
okay. You don't have to look
and
it
I'll
up.
look it up. Just talk. Fill the air. Show everybody the professional that you are.
Oh, I just talk wrestling, man. I don't know. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about.
But yeah, state finalist back in 22.
I thought he was. Yeah,
and then last year missed out due to injury, and back this year, one knockout. Has won anything that they've sent him to, and I don't think we've had a brother sister state title combo yet winning in the same year, so that could be one. I'd have to do some.
Have we had a brother or sister winning?
I know we had 2 at knockout, but one of them was from another state. So
yeah, no, that was Cleveland, Tennessee. Have we ever had a brother sister?
I don't think so.
Have won?
I don't think so. So there's the Mills kids are both undefeated heading into the weekend. I can't wait. Right. When are you heading over there?
I am heading down on Wednesday.
All right. Are you gonna be there roll around? I'm going Wednesday. I'm bringing my daughter, London.
Is she gonna be there the whole weekend?
No, she's not. She is a volleyball player and she has a club tournament this weekend. But since she's gone to a couple events with me this year and done photos and helps me, a lot of the background stuff, I told her I'd take her Wednesday so she would just have a chance to see what it's like. But unfortunately she won't be there this year because she'll be competing down in Deerfield Beach. But I'm going to bring her by Wednesday night to just kind of see what it's like and kind of feel that vibe. There's just something really cool about being there for roll around, and coaches are kind of chill and there's no whistles, but there's like a tension that's also
there. Is a tension.
It's a lot of fun.
There is a tension, definitely. Certainly some people bring a lot more tension than other people. Some people are much more relaxed about that situation.
It's fun to be around. So I'm going to go there, and then obviously I'm there every day, from the moment it starts and the last one out every night.
Well, Brant, I appreciate you taking the time to have a conversation with me. Guys, make sure you check out both of our stuff that we're going to post, and you know what, it's going to be a great weekend. And there's going to be a lot of highs, there's going to be some lows, and it's going to be a lot of fun to just kind of be there and capture it and everything else. So thanks for taking the time, man.
For me, this is my reward. And I assume you kind of do feel that same way too. And you do this for like 6 or 7 states, but you work so hard during the year. And then I get to state and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy this. And I obviously work through it and I take pictures and I interview and write stories, but just getting to watch it all is just such a reward for everything that I do during the year. And it's my favorite 3 days.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. It's
definitely the Agreement Podcast.
Well, yeah. And the one thing I would say is that for me, Florida is my last one.
Yes. Yes.
So, Georgia happened 2 weeks ago, all these different ones. So the fact that it's the last one, there's oh man, I get to just kind of relax and kind of enjoy it. So
I always tell people when it ends, I drive home, and it's the only time I ever drive without anything on. I don't have any music. I don't have any talk. It just, for whatever reason, I don't do it purposefully. I just get in the car and drive when it's done. It's just everything just releases or whatever. And I just drive in silence. And I don't like driving in silence, but I do on Saturday night.
Well, guys, if you want to know who the winner's going to be, check out the preview by Kabra. And you know what? Best of luck to everybody who's competing this weekend. We hope you wrestle to your ability. Stay healthy. And go do your thing. All the work's in. Just go make it happen now.